Good morning. I'm going to give just a few minutes for some folks to arrive. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for attending Decoding the 31%, the Great Workplace Disengagement of 2025. My name is Mildred Black, and I am the founder and principal consultant of People Optimum Consulting. And our mission and our vision are very simple. Our mission is to empower senior leaders to drive sustainable performance outcomes and find personal and professional fulfillment. And our vision is that organizations and people are thriving. In today's conversation, we're going to be talking about the 31% engagement rate in the United States. Now, I would be remiss by not acknowledging that before we take a deep dive into engagement, we must acknowledge that we are in a highly politically charged environment and that when your employees come to work, they don't leave that at the door. They don't leave their feelings, their anxieties, their ideologies, their opinions at the door. And oftentimes those conflicts can find their way into the workplace. And so today's conversation is really first to acknowledge what is, and then to talk about what we can do to create a workplace environment where everyone is growing, developing, contributing, and thriving. And so I'd like to really examine the 31% employee engagement rate and really understand what it's made of. And then from there, we can take steps to really improve from where you are to the next level. So today we'll be taking a deep dive into what's behind the alarming 31% global engagement rate, and more importantly, what leaders like you can do about it. Before we get started, one of the questions I'd like to engage you with and have you to think about is, what's your biggest engagement challenge at this time? Let's take a look at the trends. So, what we have been seeing is a trend in employee engagement from between 30 to 36%. In 2014, you'll see that we were at 30%, 31% engagement in 2014. And now here we are going into the new year at 31% again with employee engagement. And so, what I'd like to first take a look at is what was different and what was similar to where we are now. Let's take a look at the breakdown of 2025 versus 2014 trends to establish and understand where we are. In 2014, many companies were still recovering from the 2008 financial crisis. Now, fast forward to 2025, we see similar economic uncertainty, but this time it's coupled with technological disruption, hybrid work dynamics, and new generational demands. What's similar between 2014 and 2025? In both time periods, we had economic instability, we had concerns with job security, and we had skill gap challenges. Those are the things that are alike between 2014 and 2025. But what's different in 2025? Now, in addition to the economic uncertainty, the job insecurity, and the skills gaps, we also have the introduction of new technology. So we've got technological disruptions that are happening. AI and automation are reshaping workflows in our work environments. And mental health is at a critical issue at this time. Approximately 85% of people in our work environments who are experiencing mental health issues attribute those issues to the experience they're having at work. We have multiple generations with varying expectations in the workplace as well. And we have hybrid and remote work that is happening, and that's impacting engagement rates as well. The reality is that organizations haven't fully adapted to these shifts, which is why disengagement remains so high. However, recognizing the challenges is the first step to solving them. Many leaders think happiness is synonymous with engagement, but let me tell you, they couldn't be more different. The challenge with that assumption is that we misunderstand what engagement really is. And so I'd like to shed some light on that now. Happiness is tied to perks, work friendships, pleasant environment, but it doesn't always mean that employees are productive and committed. Engagement, unlike happiness, is deeper. It's marked by emotional commitment, going above and beyond, and caring about the results. So, engagement is really about a heart connection to the work that is going on in the work environment. Imagine an employee who enjoys their work friendships and free Friday lunches, but doesn't feel challenged or connected to the company mission. In that situation, they may be happy, but they won't go the extra mile when it matters the most. So you can think of employee engagement and the drivers or the contributing factors to employee engagement like a butterfly that's being developed. And here we're correlating it to human needs. So those of you who may be familiar with Abraham Maslow, he really focused on human needs and understanding how human needs drive human motivation. And so when we think about employee engagement, understanding its definition not being happiness, but being actually connected to the work, what we must do is we must think about how we engage our employees based upon what their needs are. And so we start with the physiological needs. These are our basic work requirements and understanding what's expected of us and having our basic needs met in the work environment. Then we think about safety needs. So we go from psychological safety to physical safety to establishing workplace security measures. That those needs are met, those safety needs are met through the measures that we put in place. And you'll see right above the safety need that we all have, there's an emerging trend, and it is psychological safety. And so employees who experience psychological safety have a deeper sense of safety in the work environment. And this is an emerging need that will continue to trend upward. And then we have love and belonging needs. Everyone needs to feel loved and belong. And so while we are having conversations about inclusion and belonging, one thing is undeniable that employees who feel like they belong in a work environment are going to give their best, they're going to be more committed, and they're definitely more likely to remain in place and be retained in the work environment. And so esteem needs have to do with our sense of accomplishment. So when we create spaces where employees feel recognized for their contributions, it really serves the need to have esteem and have a sense of belonging. And then self actualization. This is where we feel like we are continually growing and developing and thriving. And when organizations are investing in professional development and personal development and leadership development strategically, what you're going to see is a higher level of engagement there. Moving on, I want to pinpoint some of these engagement factors that really, some of the other metrics that will help you to understand where your engagement is. So not only can you look at engagement as an indicator, but you can also look at some other trends, such as performance ratings. The evaluations of effectiveness and contributions in your work environment are a great indicator of how engaged the workforce is. You can look at your employee net promoter score. This measures your employee's likelihood to recommend your workplace to someone else. So it is a direct relationship to employee engagement. And then retention rates, of course. Are employees wanting to stay? At the end of the day, when we talk about engagement, we're really talking about three things. Do I love this work? Am I willing to stay here and do this work? And am I willing to go the extra mile? And so when we look at retention rates, We're really looking at the answer to that question number 2. Do I love doing this work here? And so tracking your employee retention over time is going to be a great indicator of how engaged your employees are at work. Then absenteeism. When employees are engaged and highly engaged at work, they show up. They want to be there. And so what we want to be doing is paying attention to absenteeism because it is a strong indicator of employee engagement. And what about employee satisfaction? I'm not dismissing happiness. I'm not dismissing the importance of employees being satisfied with their environment. It's still a great indicator. It's a leading indicator. And so productivity is the final indicator that I want to pinpoint. Productivity is a great indicator of how engaged employees are at work. Another question I want you to ponder is, what metrics are you using to track engagement in between your engagement surveys? Now I want to talk about strategically what you can do to improve engagement in your work environment. There are 3 pillars I want you to consider. The first is the human experience. So here you want to think about the full employee life cycle. You want to consider the employee's experience from the time that they are attracted to your organization to the time that they are onboarded, selected and onboarded into the organization, the time that their performance is being managed. Are their needs being met? Is it clear? Is there incentive to perform? Are they connected? Are they doing the work that they love and are competent to do? Here you're able to actually create and hardwire in engagement when you think about it from the very beginning. When you think about from the very beginning how you're attracting talent to your organization. When you're doing your selection process, for example, are you evaluating interest in that type of work environment? Because when an employee is happy in an environment and they are satisfied, their engagement is going to be much higher. So human experience, organizational culture, and technology are the 3 pillars I want you to consider. As it relates to organizational culture, here we're talking about the human connections in the work environment, the environment itself, physical environment, physiological environment, psychological environment, and finally, the outcomes that are being produced by the collective group. And so when employees are connected to those factors, you're going to see a greater sense of engagement. And finally, technology. And so there's an overlap here between technology, human experience, and organizational culture. And in those overlaps, you've got opportunities to create spaces where you have a culture where experience is a leading factor in your engagement. There are some emerging drivers that I want to pinpoint here. One is psychological safety. And as I said before, psychological safety is an emerging driver. And so you've got an opportunity when you focus in strategically on creating psychologically safe environments to improve engagement in your workplace. The other is technological empowerment. As you are introducing new technologies into your work environment, consider if you are empowering your employees to maximize their talent with the use of those technologies, particularly as we're entering into the space where AI is being introduced. Are we investing in the empowerment of our talent with understanding the use of those technologies? And finally, holistic well-being. So employees that are holistically well are going to show up better, and they're going to show up more engaged in your work environments, investing in opportunities for them to work out, to have great health care, to have great therapies available to them. To innovate in that space, you create a deeper sense of connection to the work and to the environment itself. I want to thank you for attending today's workshop, and I look forward to receiving your feedback. Your feedback is invaluable. Thank you.